Let me tell you something that most people never truly understand. Gratitude is not just about saying thank you. It's not just a polite response to something nice happening. No, gratitude is far more than that. It's a spiritual tool, a silent key, a divine code that rewires your entire emotional frequency and aligns your life with something higher than logic. There's an invisible law at work behind gratitude. It's not visible to the natural eye, but it governs results. It governs breakthroughs. And those who learn how to activate this law begin to live in a completely different dimension of possibility. This is not just theory. It's not just philosophy. It's spiritual reality backed by scripture and confirmed by great thinkers like Napoleon Hill. While he didn't always use the word gratitude, the principles he taught, faith, belief, visualization, emotional alignment, are rooted in the same energy. Gratitude is not an accessory in this process. It's the engine. How do you begin your day? Be honest. Do you wake up thinking about what you don't have? What's missing? What hasn't worked yet? That mindset, although common, is the birthplace of anxiety. And the problem isn't just emotional, it's spiritual. Because when your attention is locked onto what's lacking, you block the very flow of what could be coming. Hill once said, "Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve." But we must add something deeper. Whatever the heart of a person can feel with faith and gratitude, it begins to magnetize. Gratitude is the spiritual antidote to lack. It transforms worry into serenity, fear into assurance, and doubt into conviction. It's not just about being thankful for what you can see. True gratitude goes deeper. It's the ability to thank God even for what hasn't shown up yet. This kind of gratitude doesn't wait for the result. It creates the result. Philippians 4:6-7 reveals this spiritual principle clearly. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Did you catch that? The peace of God doesn't come from asking alone. It comes from asking with thanksgiving. That is, with a heart already at peace, already confident, already believing. Gratitude is the seal that authenticates your prayer. Without it, your request lacks the energy of faith. You see, gratitude is not the result of something good happening. It's the cause that makes good things begin to unfold. Most people have it backward. They say, "Once I succeed, I'll be grateful." But the truth is, when I'm grateful, I start succeeding. Napoleon Hill taught this principle repeatedly. Though he often used the language of faith, he instructed his readers to visualize their goals as if they were already achieved. He spoke of the power of believing so strongly in your outcome that your subconscious begins to accept it as reality. That's not fantasy. That's divine alignment. That's what we now call advanced gratitude. The kind that is proactive, not reactive. When you give thanks in advance, your spirit starts to believe that the blessing already exists. And guess what happens? Your subconscious mind starts moving in that direction. It shapes your focus. It shifts your energy. It helps you make decisions that match the frequency of what you're believing for. That's not magic. That's faith in motion. A grateful heart is not naive. It's powerful. It's not ignoring the facts. It's overriding them with spiritual truth. Gratitude doesn't deny challenges. It changes how you walk through them. It shifts your language, your posture, your expectation. People who practice true gratitude build an emotional foundation that is almost unshakable. They become more resilient, more focused, and more spiritually alert, not because their life is perfect, but because their perspective is. Let's clear something up right now. Most people live reactively. They wait for life to go right before they offer any kind of gratitude. When things fall into place, they say, "Thank you." But when the blessings don't arrive fast enough, they fall into complaining, fear, and doubt. That's the pattern that keeps them stuck. But those who understand the deeper spiritual laws know gratitude is not a reaction. It's a weapon. It's a proactive choice to align with faith, no matter what's happening on the outside. It's not something you do after you receive. It's what you do to prepare for what's coming. Real gratitude is not based on conditions. It's a declaration of trust, a bold statement that says, even if I can't see it yet, I believe it's already mine. That's not denial. That's divine confidence. The Bible teaches us in Hebrews 11:1, "Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." Gratitude is the emotional expression of that kind of faith. It's how you show heaven that you're not just asking, you're believing. And belief carries weight in the spiritual realm. When you're thankful in advance, you're not begging for a miracle, you're welcoming it. Napoleon Hill may not have preached sermons, but he knew this principle better than most preachers. In Think and Grow Rich, he taught what he called definiteness of purpose and applied faith. He encouraged people to not only write down their goals, but to speak them out loud and to feel the emotions of success as if it were already theirs. That, my friend, is gratitude in action. It's the same principle Jesus applied before multiplying the loaves and fishes. He gave thanks before the miracle happened. John 6:11. Why? Because thanksgiving opens the channel for divine multiplication. When you give thanks in the unseen, you pull what's invisible into form. That's why Hill also said, faith is the only known antidote for failure. But what activates that faith? Gratitude. Deep, consistent, focused gratitude. It's not about pretending everything is fine. It's about recognizing that you are already equipped, already guided, already supported, even in the silence. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to recover quickly from failure? Why some bounce back after loss, while others stay bitter and stuck? It's not because they're lucky. It's because they carry a different emotional posture. Hill called this the seed of equivalent benefit, the idea that within every setback lies a hidden gift. But only the grateful can find that gift. Gratitude doesn't just make you feel better, it changes your perception. And when your perception changes, so does your life. You begin to recognize doors that were always there but previously invisible. You start responding to life instead of reacting to it. You see purpose in your pain. You discover wisdom in your waiting. You stop chasing what's missing and start attracting what's aligned. Why? Because gratitude raises your emotional frequency. It turns your mind into fertile ground for blessings. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you believe you already have. And gratitude is the evidence of that belief. People often ask, how do I shift my mindset? How do I break out of anxiety and fear? The answer is simple, but it's not easy. Train your mind to give thanks, especially when you don't feel like it. That's the doorway. That's how you begin to rewire your subconscious. You give thanks in the middle of confusion. You give thanks when there's no clarity yet. You give thanks before the relationship is restored, before the financial breakthrough, before the dream is fulfilled. Why? Because in the spiritual realm, that's how you activate the promise. Let me tell you something most people don't realize. Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's deeply felt. It doesn't care if it already happened or if you're just imagining it. What matters is the intensity of emotion. And when you consistently feel gratitude before the answer comes, your mind begins to treat it as fact. This is the power of advanced gratitude. It's not just positive thinking, it's emotional programming. You are literally rewriting the script that your subconscious follows. And once the script changes, the story of your life changes too. That's why Napoleon Hill emphasized the daily repetition of your chief aim, your definite purpose in life. He didn't just say to write it down. He said to read it out loud twice a day, visualize it in detail, and feel as if it were already real. Why? Because he understood what modern science confirms. Emotion is the language of the subconscious. Hill was describing a mental habit, but behind that habit is a heart posture. And that posture is gratitude. Try this. Close your eyes. Picture your goal, not like a distant dream, but like it already happened. See it, smell it, touch it in your mind, and now feel the gratitude. Not just excitement, gratitude. That's the shift. That's where the manifestation begins. Because when you are grateful, your energy changes, your voice changes, your decisions change, and slowly, your life begins to match your emotional blueprint. Romans 4:17 says that God calls things that are not as though they were. That's not just divine language. That's a principle of faith. And gratitude is the human response to that kind of trust. You see, gratitude is not weakness. It's not passivity. It's not pretending everything is okay when it's not. Gratitude is strength. It's spiritual warfare. It's a bold declaration that says, even if I'm still in the desert, I know the rain is coming. Even if the door is closed, I know God holds the key. This is why gratitude has a magnetic effect. It changes your internal world so completely that the external world begins to shift in response. People around you notice the difference. You become more grounded, more centered. You stop complaining, not because life is perfect, but because your eyes are trained to see what's working, not just what's missing. Hill taught that thoughts become things, but not just any thoughts. Dominant thoughts, emotional thoughts, thoughts that are fueled by belief. And what emotion fuels belief better than gratitude? Gratitude is the highest emotional frequency you can operate in. It aligns you with love, peace, clarity, and purpose. It quiets your mind. It opens your heart. It tunes you to the opportunities already present that you were blind to before. And here's something you need to understand. The energy of gratitude is contagious. When you carry it, you influence environments. Your home changes. Your relationships shift. Your workplace feels different. People start to feel safer around you, more inspired, more seen. Why? Because a grateful person isn't chasing validation. They're not operating from lack. They show up full. Gratitude makes you generous, not just with things, but with your presence, your words, your attention. It builds bridges. It removes emotional walls. It creates connection, trust, flow. This is why Hill placed so much emphasis on the mastermind principle, a group of aligned minds working toward a shared goal. Gratitude is what allows that alignment, because where there's gratitude, there's no competition. There's unity, there's honor, there's respect. And when people operate in that space, breakthroughs happen faster. Creative ideas multiply. Fear dissolves. Because gratitude doesn't isolate, it multiplies. You want to know why gratitude works so powerfully? Because it shifts the posture of your spirit. It's not just about feeling better. It's about entering a spiritual frequency that heaven responds to. Gratitude is not emotion alone. It's alignment. It tells God, I trust you before I see it. I believe you even when it's silent. That kind of energy moves the heavens. Gratitude doesn't beg. It believes. It doesn't plead. It positions. It doesn't demand. It receives. Most people think they need to do more to attract more. But the secret is not always in doing more. It's in feeling different. Gratitude elevates your emotional state, and your emotional state determines your experience of life. Napoleon Hill understood this when he wrote that there is a difference between wishing for something and being ready to receive it. What makes you ready? Gratitude. It prepares the ground. It opens your heart. It conditions your subconscious to recognize the moment of opportunity instead of missing it. Think about how many chances people miss because they're stuck in frustration, resentment, or fear. Their minds are closed. Their spirits are heavy. They're asking, but they're not receiving. Because receiving requires openness, and gratitude is what opens you. It's not just a nice idea. It's neuroscience. Research shows that consistent gratitude activates areas in your brain linked to reward, motivation, and awareness. It literally makes you more sensitive to opportunity. It clears your internal fog and sharpens your external vision. So yes, science confirms what Scripture and Napoleon Hill already knew. You become what you consistently feel, and if you feel gratitude, you begin to experience life through a different lens. You attract what aligns with that lens. Not because of magic, but because your mind, your spirit, and your behavior all shift into sync. Let me say it again. Gratitude doesn't wait for life to get better. Gratitude makes life better. It gives you emotional fuel to persist. It gives you clarity in the unknown. It gives you peace when the process is still unfolding. That's why Hill taught that persistence is the essential factor in turning desire into reality. But let me tell you something most people miss. No one persists for long without emotional support. And gratitude is one of the strongest emotional forces you can carry. It's the voice that tells you, keep going, something is happening, even if you can't see it yet. Gratitude makes your waiting meaningful. It doesn't shorten the process, but it strengthens you through it. Jesus himself lived this way. Before raising Lazarus from the dead, he gave thanks. John 11:41. Before the miracle, before the breakthrough, before the evidence, he thanked the Father. Why? Because gratitude is what activates spiritual authority. And you have that same access, that same right, that same power. But you must choose it. You must choose to speak gratitude even when your feelings are resisting. You must train your mind to lean into hope, to celebrate what is, and to trust what's still becoming. This is what it means to walk by faith and not by sight. Gratitude is not passive. It's not soft. It's powerful. It's a spiritual command that tells the unseen world, I'm aligned, I'm ready, I'm expecting. And when that vibration becomes your baseline, doors begin to open, answers begin to appear, and your entire atmosphere begins to shift. It's not theory, it's law. Gratitude isn't just a feeling, it's a signature, a vibrational stamp that marks the kind of person you're becoming. When you carry gratitude, even in silence, you're saying to the world and to God, I am present, I am aware, I am aligned. That signature sends a signal. People can feel it. Circumstances shift because of it. Opportunities show up when that frequency is activated, not because you forced them, but because you became someone who could receive them. Napoleon Hill spoke often about the power of emotionalized desire. He urged readers not to just think about what they wanted, but to become emotionally involved with their goal, to feel it, breathe it, live as though it were already real. And what is that, if not a form of gratitude? You can't feel emotionally connected to something you don't believe in, and you don't believe in something unless you've already accepted it on the inside. That acceptance, before the proof, is gratitude in its purest form. Gratitude creates internal certainty, and internal certainty transforms your actions. It gives you boldness. It makes you walk differently. It helps you speak with clarity. You're no longer asking from a place of lack. You're moving from a place of overflow. This is what Jesus meant when he said in Mark 11:24, "Whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." Do you see the order? Believe you've received it. Then it becomes real. Gratitude is that belief in motion. It's the emotional proof that you've already said yes in your heart, even if the world hasn't caught up yet. That's why people who are truly grateful radiate peace. They don't panic when things take time. They don't spiral when things shift, because they know they're not alone. They're not guessing. They're trusting. And trust brings rest. Gratitude teaches you to rest while you move, to relax your heart even while your hands are working. Hill also taught the importance of environment, the idea that the people and energies you surround yourself with affect your success. He was absolutely right. But here's what most people don't realize. Your own energy sets the tone for your environment. And when you walk into a room carrying gratitude, you shift that room without saying a word. You don't need to argue. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to control the atmosphere. You simply become the atmosphere. Gratitude is influence. It softens hearts. It attracts trust. It draws people in, not with force, but with presence. And that's why gratitude is also a relational power. It doesn't just affect your inner world. It impacts how you connect with others. A grateful mind doesn't compete. It collaborates. It doesn't envy. It celebrates. It doesn't isolate. It includes. That's the foundation of what Hill called the mastermind principle. A group of people aligned in purpose, working together with harmony and faith. And harmony is impossible without gratitude, because gratitude fuels empathy. It fuels respect. It fuels the humility necessary to listen, to learn, and to grow. The truth is, gratitude is not just personal. It's collective. It creates momentum. It builds bridges. It generates trust. It turns strangers into allies. It invites the right people at the right time. Because the universe isn't random, it's responsive. And gratitude is one of the clearest signals it understands. Let's be real. Life doesn't always go the way you plan. Things fall apart. Doors close. Prayers take longer than expected. And in those moments, it's easy to fall into fear, doubt, or frustration. But that's exactly where gratitude becomes your greatest advantage. Gratitude is not about ignoring your struggle. It's not pretending everything is okay when it clearly isn't. Gratitude is a spiritual discipline. It's how you rise in the middle of the storm. Napoleon Hill called this quality persistence, and he made it clear: no success is possible without it. But he also understood something most people overlook. Persistence without emotional strength will collapse. So where does that strength come from? It comes from a grateful heart. Gratitude reminds you that your journey has meaning, even when the outcomes are delayed. It whispers in your soul, you're not finished, you're still growing. And this chapter is part of the story. That's what gives you stamina. That's what builds resilience. Because the truth is, you don't persist unless you believe something is still possible. And gratitude helps you believe again. It quiets the noise of the world and brings you back into spiritual alignment. It helps you lift your head. It gives you perspective. It shows you the lesson in the pain, the beauty in the brokenness, the preparation hidden in the delay. Psalm 34:1 says, "I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth." See, that's not about ignoring difficulty. It's about training your heart to keep praising through it. Gratitude, when practiced consistently, becomes your inner power source. It's your anchor in uncertainty. It's what fuels your faith when your feelings are weak. And that's why it's so much more than an emotion. It's a spiritual strategy. Napoleon Hill didn't just talk about success. He talked about peace of mind. He described it as the ultimate wealth, the deep knowing that you're living with purpose, giving your best, and staying faithful to your vision. And I'll tell you this, no one lives with peace of mind who can't give thanks for the process, not just the destination. Gratitude changes how you view time. It keeps you from rushing what needs to unfold. It keeps you from panicking when things take longer than expected. It reminds you that progress isn't always visible, but it's always happening. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is pause, take a breath, and say, "Thank you. Thank you for this moment. Thank you for what I'm learning. Thank you for what's coming." That posture is not weakness. It's wisdom. It shows maturity. It shows faith. It shows that you understand a higher timeline is at work. Even when you don't understand every detail, gratitude turns each step into victory. It turns waiting into preparation. It turns uncertainty into clarity. Not because the situation changes instantly, but because you do. And when you change, your life begins to follow. If there's one thing you must understand today, it's this: gratitude is not a feeling you wait for. It's a practice you choose. And like any practice, it grows stronger the more you exercise it. You don't wait to feel grateful. You train your mind to become grateful. Just like a muscle, gratitude must be developed through repetition and intention. And when you make it part of your daily rhythm, something extraordinary happens. Your entire mental atmosphere begins to shift. Napoleon Hill emphasized the power of autosuggestion, speaking words aloud every day that affirm your purpose and shape your destiny. He instructed people to read their major life goal twice daily, out loud, with emotion and clarity. But here's the key. Without gratitude, those words are just noise. Emotion gives power to affirmation. And gratitude is the emotion that turns empty words into spiritual declarations. So how do you make gratitude part of your life? How do you build that spiritual strength? Start small, but start intentionally. Each morning, write down 3 things you're truly grateful for. Not surface-level answers, but things that touch your spirit. They could be as simple as your breath, your mind, or someone you love. The point is to be sincere. That simple act rewires your brain. It trains you to scan your environment for blessings instead of problems. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. Your attention is the gatekeeper of your energy, and gratitude teaches your attention where to look. Another practice. Before going to sleep, thank God for something that happened during your day, even if the day was hard. This single habit can change your life. It clears your mind, calms your heart, and prepares your subconscious to rest in peace rather than anxiety. Psalm 92:1-2 says, "It is good to give thanks to the Lord, and to sing praises to your name, O Most High, to declare your loving kindness in the morning and your faithfulness every night." Gratitude is a morning reset and a nighttime covering. It's how you frame your day with purpose. It's how you enter sleep with peace. It's how you close the gap between where you are and where you're going. Another powerful technique, gratitude-based visualization. Take 5 minutes a day to close your eyes and picture a future outcome as if it's already happened. Feel it, experience it, and then thank God for it, right there in that moment, before it arrives. That's not fantasy. That's faith in motion. That's how you send instructions to your subconscious and invitation to the divine. You're telling heaven, I'm ready. You're telling your brain, this is who I am now. And your life begins to reflect that. Even your vocabulary matters. Many people don't realize how often their words are rooted in lack. Complaining has become a default setting. But every complaint you speak reinforces a mindset of scarcity. Start paying attention to your language. Replace complaining with noticing. Replace negativity with appreciation. Replace gossip with genuine praise. Speak gratitude out loud. Say thank you to people. Recognize effort. Celebrate growth, yours and others. Because when gratitude flows from your lips, it begins to flow through your life. This isn't just about feeling good. It's about building a new emotional reality, and that reality will shape your future. Let's make this clear. Gratitude is not just personal. It's contagious. It spreads through your home, your conversations, your presence. It becomes an invisible force that changes the climate around you. When you walk in gratitude, your energy speaks before your words do. People feel safe with you. They feel uplifted. Why? Because a grateful person doesn't carry resentment, doesn't radiate desperation, doesn't drain the room. They fill it. Gratitude multiplies whatever it touches. It deepens relationships, strengthens teams, heals families, and brings unity where there was once division. That's why the Bible says in 1 Thessalonians 5:15, Psalm 5:18, "Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you." Not for some circumstances, all. Even the ones you don't understand, even the ones that hurt, even the ones that stretch your faith. Gratitude doesn't always mean you're happy with the moment. It means you've chosen to find value in the moment. That's spiritual maturity. Napoleon Hill taught the importance of emotional control, the ability to direct your thoughts and feelings toward your definite purpose. But what he described was more than discipline. It was awareness, the power to choose your inner state, even when the outer world feels chaotic. Gratitude is how you take back that power. It grounds you. It reminds you that no matter what is happening around you, you still have authority over what happens within you. And that inner control creates external transformation. Every day, you're planting seeds with your thoughts, your words, and your energy. And gratitude is the seed that produces abundance. Not just material abundance, but emotional, spiritual, and relational overflow. But here's the key. It must be practiced intentionally. You don't stumble into a life of gratitude. You build it, choice by choice, word by word, moment by moment. And over time, it becomes your default setting. You become someone who sees blessings in real time, not just in hindsight. You begin to recognize how guided your life really is, how protected you've always been, how provided you actually are, even when it didn't feel like it. That's when you stop chasing. That's when you stop forcing. That's when you begin receiving. Gratitude positions you to receive, not out of entitlement, but out of awareness. It opens your eyes to the resources you already have. It unlocks the creativity you were born with. It turns delays into divine timing and waiting into preparation. It's not about perfection. It's about posture. The posture of someone who says, God, I trust you. I know you're moving, even when I can't see it. I know you're faithful, even when I don't feel it. That kind of gratitude is faith with a pulse. It's how you walk with confidence when nothing looks certain. It's how you speak with boldness, even when you feel weak. It's how you make decisions from peace, not pressure. And when that becomes your lifestyle, not just your mood, everything changes. You don't just have moments of power. You live in power. You carry peace into chaos. You bring light into heavy spaces. You make people feel hopeful again. Because you've learned the secret. Gratitude doesn't wait for proof. It creates the evidence. Here's a truth most people never realize. Your future self is already shaped by the emotions you practice today. And there is no emotion more powerful, more activating, or more transformative than gratitude. Gratitude is how you build the bridge between who you are now and who you're becoming. It's the emotional language of the version of you that's already living in peace, purpose, and prosperity. It's the frequency of your higher self. Napoleon Hill often spoke about autosuggestion and dominant thoughts, repeating affirmations, visualizing success, and saturating your mind with faith. But what makes that practice effective is not just repetition, it's the emotion behind it. Gratitude is what gives your declarations life. You can speak 1,000 affirmations a day, but if your heart is full of fear or frustration, they'll bounce right off your subconscious. But if you speak them with gratitude, as if they're already real, your mind accepts them as fact. This is the real science of manifestation. This is spiritual alignment in action. Jesus said in Matthew 21:22, "If you believe, you will receive whatever you ask for in prayer." And belief is more than a thought. It's a feeling. Gratitude is how you feel your way into faith. It's how you speak to the mountain with confidence. It's how you release your request to heaven and walk away with peace. The problem for most people is not that they don't pray. It's that they pray from a place of panic, not peace. They ask but don't expect. They desire but don't trust. They want change but resist the process. Gratitude ends that cycle. It teaches you to relax into expectation, to trust without tension, to prepare while you wait. It is the ultimate form of emotional intelligence, the ability to maintain internal stability even when the external world is uncertain. And it's that emotional intelligence that turns ordinary people into powerful leaders, into visionaries, into individuals who influence not through force, but through presence. Because when you live with gratitude, your energy speaks louder than your resume. You don't need to demand opportunities. They find you. You don't need to chase relationships. They connect with your frequency. Gratitude is silent influence. It draws without effort. It inspires without preaching. It creates without pressure. It's the foundation of true spiritual leadership. And that's why Hill always linked success to inner development. He knew that no outer achievement is sustainable without inner harmony. And gratitude is what creates that harmony. It's what aligns your desires with your identity. It makes your vision not just believable, but livable. It's what gives your dream roots. Because here's the secret. Success isn't something you pursue. It's something you become. And gratitude is the path to becoming. It strips away the noise. It clarifies your intentions. It humbles your ego. And it builds your faith. By practicing gratitude, you begin to embody the future you're praying for. And when your heart matches your vision, when your emotions align with your belief, miracles become inevitable. If you've walked with me this far, then something inside you is shifting. And that shift has a name: awareness. You're not here by accident. You're being invited into a new way of living, a life where gratitude is not a random emotion, but a deliberate choice. A life where the invisible begins to move because your spirit is in alignment. Gratitude is the key that unlocks the impossible, not because it changes God, but because it changes you. It prepares your heart to receive. It trains your eyes to see. It awakens your mind to solutions that were always there, but hidden by fear. Napoleon Hill once wrote, "The majority of people are ready to throw their aims and purposes overboard and give up at the first sign of opposition or misfortune. But do you know what makes you stay standing when life pushes hard? Gratitude. Because gratitude is endurance. It's not loud. It doesn't beg for attention, but it holds the line when everything else shakes. Gratitude is the invisible foundation of the most unshakable people you'll ever meet. It doesn't mean they don't cry. It doesn't mean they don't get tired. It means they've decided to live by a different law, the law of faith, not fear, the law of divine timing, not panic, the law of inner certainty, not outer chaos. Psalm 23 doesn't say, "You'll never walk through valleys." It says, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me." That's the voice of gratitude. Not because the valley disappears, but because you know you're not walking alone. Gratitude doesn't remove the challenge. It reveals the presence of God in the middle of it, and that awareness changes everything. When you live in a state of gratitude, you become magnetic, not in a mystical way, but in a deeply practical, spiritual way. You start to think clearly. You move with purpose. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop striving and start flowing. This is not about positive thinking. It's about spiritual positioning. Gratitude places you in the posture of peace. It sets the tone for your mind and spirit to cooperate with heaven. It tunes your emotions to the frequency of miracles. You don't wait for joy. You bring it. You don't chase clarity. You walk in trust. And as you walk, things begin to align. People show up. Ideas flow. Resources come. Not because you manipulated the world, but because you synchronized with the deeper rhythm of life. That's why I say, gratitude is not a nice idea. It's a necessary practice. If you want to walk in purpose, create lasting success, build spiritual strength, and lead a life that matters, you need to live grateful, and not occasionally. Daily, let your mornings start with thank you. Let your nights end with I trust you. Let your prayers be saturated in thanks. Let your waiting be filled with worship. Because the person who learns to say thank you before the answer arrives is the person who always sees it come. So, right now, speak it out loud, even if it feels awkward. Say, I am grateful for everything, even the things I don't understand yet. Say it until it becomes a part of you. Until your thoughts follow your declaration, until your feelings submit to your faith. Because once gratitude becomes your nature, you won't need to chase blessings. You'll start living inside them.